All right, so the NFL trade deadline is on Tuesday, and we will be done hearing about these trade rumors throughout the 2025 season. And it's now or never for these teams to try to make some type of move to capitalize on some assets they may leave them in the offseason, or to go all in a championship window that they may think they have right now. And for today's video, I wanted to react to ESPN's trade deadline predictions because there's some juicy predictions in here. And what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? This is an NFL article that I will leave in the description below. I saw one crazy trade idea on Twitter that I'm really excited to get to at one point today. It is in alphabetical of city order, I believe. So we're going to start off with Arizona, then go to Atlanta. And this is just a bunch of different people that wrote this at ESPN. So let's get into this. Arizona Cardinals 2-5, chances to make the playoffs under 5% right now. They start off 2-0, then they lose 5 games in a row. They're projected to be in the top 10. Who really knows who the head coach is going to be next year, who the quarterback may be next year? A key position of need is a wide receiver. A young wideout could help build Arizona's offense for the future, as Zay Jones isn't a long-term solution at this point in his career. They also think that Zaven Collins could be on the move as well, a former top draft pick for them. They may look to move in a different direction as well, so we'll see that unfold. But they are saying that they could target Adonai Mitchell from the Indianapolis Colts. He has either been inactive or played less than 10% of the Colts snaps since he dropped the ball at the goal line against the Rams in week 4. But Mitchell is a player I have confidence in. He recorded an 82 open score as a rookie last season, tied for the 8th among the likes of Tyreek Hill and Zay Flowers. And I totally agree. I think a lot of teams should be calling the Indianapolis Colts and trying to see what the market will be for Adonai Mitchell, because he is a young guy that fits the timeline with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? They were in the same draft class, Mitchell coming out of Texas with Xavier Worthy in last year's class. And this is a team that's focused a ton on their offense right now around an Alec Pierce deep ball threat, Josh Downs as a slot guy, Michael Pittman as the wide receiver 1 for this team. And you have Tyler Warren, who may win Offensive Rookie of the Year at your tight end spot. You may have the Offensive Player of the Year and Jonathan Taylor, and Daniel Jones is playing like an MVP candidate this year. If they can capitalize on maybe a valuable, I don't know if they would get a 3rd rounder, but if you can get like a mid to high 4th round pick from the Arizona Cardinals here, that is not a bad return for Mitchell, who is not even going to be involved in your game plan going forward, and somebody that has pretty much, yeah, like you see, been inactive or played less than 10% of the Colts snaps since he dropped that ball in a monster game against the Rams for him individually. But it feels like he hasn't really broken out for the Colts. With all those mouths to feed there, it's going to be hard for that to happen. So I like this idea. He fits the timeline with Marvin Harrison Jr. He could be a nice speedy receiver in open space all over the field for Kyler Murray. I agree with this one for sure. And we'll go into the Atlanta Falcons here, who have a little bit better of a chance at making the playoffs than the Arizona Cardinals, a team that makes no sense this year. You lose 30-0 against the Panthers. Then you beat the Buffalo Bills in prime time. And then you lose to maybe the coldest team in the NFL, the biggest dumpster fire, the Miami Dolphins. You get blown out by them. I know Penix didn't play and London didn't play, but still. So they're maybe saying that position of need will be offensive tackle, as they did lose one before the season started. Who could be on the move? Kirk Cousins. It's no secret, since it's a surprise that he's still on the roster. He lost his starting job in week 16 last year. It didn't look good against the Miami Dolphins, a team that has not had a good defense all year long. They're saying that they could target a receiver, Tyquan Thornton. He had a productive September, filling in for the absent receivers, but he's fallen back on the depth chart since Worthy got healthy, Rashee Rice came back. And honestly, it gives Penix a deep ball threat, which I think they could definitely use. London is more of just kind of a possession guy, a route runner guy, not really somebody you're sending on deep balls all the time. Darnell Mooney, can you really trust his health throughout the second half of the year? And we'll see, after they release Ray McLeod, they could definitely go in this direction as well. It's not going to cost a lot to add Tyquan Thornton. I don't know if the Falcons should buy. They should probably buy, though, since they don't own their 1st round pick in the 2026 draft. That's going to the LA Rams. I'd rather, try to give up the 16th overall pick. I don't want to give up a top 10 pick by any means. One of the more fascinating teams at the 2025 NFL trade deadline, the Baltimore Ravens. Will they buy? Will they sell? I think what you guys already saw on Thursday night, I don't know if they ended up beating the Miami Dolphins with Lamar coming back. You guys will be seeing this video after that game. If they win, they're probably going to buy. If they lose this season, I mean, they could still make the playoffs at 2-6. But if you're losing to Miami on a Thursday night, maybe sound the alarm a little bit. They could look to move Mark Andrews, which I think just makes a ton of sense, even if you think you can make the playoffs, because you have Isaiah Likely as a depth guy, and try to capitalize on Mark Andrews before he's not really a viable option for you going forward. We saw them move Odafe Owe, which was a little bit shocking at the time. I still think this team needs like another receiver, but I don't know if they're going to go that route. They need to see how Lamar Jackson looks on Thursday night. You guys already saw how he looked, so you will know more than I do right now since I'm recording this before that Thursday night game. If they're 2-6, I don't think they're going to buy by any means, and they're probably going to sell. But if they win, they're 3-5, and they could still win the AFC North. I'm not locked in on my Steelers winning that division whatsoever, how they looked over the last few weeks. They think they can go after Calais Campbell with the injury with Namadi Matabuke, who is out for the year. I think a lot of teams should be calling for Calais Campbell. He's 39 years old. He doesn't have many years left in the league, but he's still been a pretty good pass rush defensive lineman. What is he going to go for? A 6th round swap, a 7th round swap? He's 39 years old, and the Cardinals are probably not going to make the playoffs. They should do it right for Campbell, and they should trade him to a contender this year. I don't know if Baltimore's a contender right now. Maybe they just end up cutting him and he's a free agent. They can kind of choose where he wants to sign. Buffalo here, obviously a high chance to make the division. They definitely need to add to the defensive line as well. They're saying just adding maybe Logan Wilson, who'd make a lot of sense. He requested a trade from the Bengals last year. Maybe safety. Yeah, this team kind of has had a poor defense this year overall. They could look to move Curtis Samuel. They added Josh Palmer in the offseason. You have Keon Coleman. You have Khalil Shakir. They have plenty of receiving options. They have multiple tight end options. And if they give James Cook the damn ball, they can have one of the best running backs in the league. They could target Budda Baker. That would be kind of crazy. He requested a trade in 2023, and he signed an extension. That is a major splash to make at the 2025 deadline. I mean, this is your window with Buffalo. Like, they're 5-2 right now. If they were playing in the playoffs, I mean, it depends where it is, but even if it's in New England, I'm going to think like Buffalo would be a favorite in that game. They might be a favorite against any team in the AFC. Besides the Kansas City Chiefs. I honestly think they'd be favored over the Indianapolis Colts, even if they were going on the road. But the playoffs are just so far out right now. Carolina, 4-4. I'd like to see the front office be aggressive. Now, I don't want them to be reckless right now because this team is probably not winning a playoff game. I would think, even if they make it to the playoffs. They looked horrible against Buffalo last week, but Andy Dalton played in that game. Probably should not be out there anymore. They could look to move Chuba Hubbard, who they ended up giving an extension to last year. Like, if you remember, he was such a fun story last year for the Panthers when they were not a good team whatsoever. But Rico Dowdle has looked better. They do have Trevor Etienne, and they'll eventually get back Jonathan Brooks next year. I mean, he tore his ACL twice, so we'll see what ends up happening. Yeah, they mentioned that he did end up getting extended. They could go after Arden Key from the Tennessee Titans. They should add another edge rusher. Nick Scordon's been pretty good this year for them. And you have Derek Brown, and when he's healthy, he's one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. This team could definitely use another pass rusher. You expect the Tennessee Titans to just be an absolute seller this year at the deadline. They've already traded away Roger McCreary. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded some other guys as well. And there could be a solid market for Arden Key from the Tennessee Titans at the moment. So Chicago, 4-3 right now. Another team that could definitely make the playoffs right now. They've scored a ton of points this year, and it would make a lot of sense for Ryan Poles to be aggressive at the deadline, something he's done in the past, getting Montez Sweat a couple years ago when they weren't a good team, but that looked like a good trade, even though people questioned it at the time. It would make sense to move DJ Moore for sure. Not sure what you're really getting for him because DJ Moore really hasn't been like a top tier receiver in a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. It hasn't been since like the 2023 season where you could trust him as a wide receiver one. Last year was a little bit of a down year. This year it's a down year as well. But you have Rome Odunze, who's kind of taken his role as the wide receiver one. And you have Luther Burden in the wings. You have Colston Loveland in the wings as well. Definitely look to move DJ Moore. I would think about that. Also, they could look to target a corner, Marshawn Lattimore. This would be back-to-back deadlines where Lattimore got traded last year from New Orleans to Washington because they're feeling the loss of Jalen Johnson. And we'll see. I mean, adding a veteran corner isn't bad. Would I want to give up a premier asset for Marshawn Lattimore this year? Not really. So we'll end up seeing what happens with them going forward. I don't know if they're going to end up moving Braxton Jones, who they mentioned as well. We'll see if they look to add an edge rusher, which I think would probably be a little bit more wise to add than a corner here at the deadline. But I believe that, yeah, Shamar Turner is out for the year with an ACL tear. He's out for the year in general, which is a big loss for this team. And their draft class last year, or from the most recent draft, hasn't really given them the biggest return so far, although it's still early in their careers. For the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, they lose last week to the Jets. Well, I can't believe they blew that game, but they lose to the Jets after they beat my Steelers, which, if you asked me my confidence level on the Steelers like 2 weeks ago before Thursday night, I would have been like, you know what? I think we're going to win the division. Now, I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs, which is kind of sad. I mean, this team, it's all depending on if they think they can compete and just stay relatively competitive in the AFC until Joe Burrow comes back, who's not ruled out for the year by any means. They could have moved Trey Hendrickson. I think it would have made a little bit more sense if they were like 2-6, 1-7, 3-5, they could probably talk themselves into keeping Trey Hendrickson for the rest of the year, but I would also like to see like Indianapolis, San Francisco, one of those teams go after Trey Hendrickson, maybe the Chicago Bears, although I don't know if they would make a big splash like that. They could look to move Logan Wilson, Barrett Carter, Demetrius Knight as well, and they could target Reek Woolen. Last year, Al Golden played a ton of man, and that would be the reasoning for going after Reek Woolen, who's definitely going to be a popular name this year at the deadline from the Seattle Seahawks because he's just been rumored to get traded a ton. I think there's a scenario where they end up keeping him. Cleveland, they have to be a seller this year at the deadline. I mean, I feel bad for Kevin Stefanski because he has had to deal with a lot of drama with like Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield decision, even like everything going on with them wanting to play or the fans wanting them to play Shedeur Sanders, which at this point, what's there to lose? I mean, Dylan Gabriel really hasn't helped you out too much. You already traded Joe Flacco to a division rival. Just see what Shedeur can do. You kind of know what Gabriel is at this point. You're not making the playoffs. Judkins might be hurt. I do believe they have a bye this week, but they should probably try to cash in on Jerome Ford, David Njoku, Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio, unless you can maybe keep like the offensive linemen, because once you trade those guys, then the offensive line is just going to crater throughout the rest of the year, which is not going to make life easier for Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, who's ever the quarterback. Even with them already being rookies, it's going to be tough going forward. Their wide receivers have been banged up this year, and it would make just a ton of sense for them to move on from Jerome Ford with Sampson and Judkins right now. They could target Ben Sinnott from the Washington Commanders, and the Tyson Campbell trade is a great example of how the Browns should operate. Snag low-cost playable contracts as they work out of cap suffering going forward. That's with them dealing with Deshaun Watson. I mean, as we get closer to the end of that contract, the Browns will have a little bit more flexibility. You're going to think they're going to want to draft a quarterback, but who knows where they're going to be selecting right now? How many quarterbacks are even going to go in the top 3? Like, are you confident that anybody outside of Fernando Mendoza is going to be a top 3 pick right now? Like maybe Simpson, maybe more. We really have to see what happens throughout the rest of the college season, but it makes so much sense to move David Njoku if you can get something for him, given that Harold Fannin already looks like he could be a starting caliber tight end in this league. I mean, I would love to see Dallas go after somebody here at the deadline. They're 3-4-1. There was the rumor of Max Crosby. That kind of got shut down by Vegas. They could look to move Jalen Tolbert, it looks like, which also makes a lot of sense with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and even like Jake Ferguson making up so much of this target share right now in Dallas. And those guys are absolutely amazing right now. They could definitely look to add an edge rusher. Imagine Dallas this year with Micah Parsons. Yeah. Like George Pickens, Micah Parsons, Javonte Williams, like this team would be really good this year, 3-4-1. So they could definitely target Joshua Williams from the Chiefs, could give the Chiefs a little bit more of a reason to play Noah Williams more snaps. I mean, the secondary has not been great this year, but the pass rush is also not getting to the quarterback whatsoever. So the defense has just been an absolute disaster. I thought it was going to be somewhat more of a close competitive game against the Broncos. They fall to 3-5-1, like with their next game, then maybe they shouldn't be buying right now. And it's going to ruin like a really good season out of Pickens, Javonte, CeeDee, and Dak Prescott. Speaking of the Denver Broncos, 6-2. Yeah, like the Broncos kind of got off to a slow-ish start. People thought they beat the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys. This team is 6-2 right now and they are rolling. They almost lost to the Giants, but they came back there. It says they could look at an inside linebacker. They're currently 30th in DVOA against running backs as pass catchers, and Alex Singleton has been picked on a lot in coverage. They could look to trade Jaquan McMillan, but with Surtain out for a decent amount, they may look with Jahdae Barron getting in nickel and dime packages. They could look at Ben Cleveland, an offensive lineman, with the injury to Ben Powers. I feel like they could look to add an offensive lineman for sure. I mean, this is a really fun team right now. I would like to see them add a more impactful receiver. Maybe we're going to get more Pat Bryant in the second half. The Evan Ingram experiment has not really been great either. Could they be like a David Njoku team? Maybe, probably not. I don't know if they're going to be like a big name here at the deadline, but like, why not? Like, you have a top tier defense when they're healthy. You have a good running game right now with Dobbins and Harvey, and you have Bo Nix under this rookie contract. Try to use that cap space as much as you can. For the Detroit Lions, they're one of the better teams overall this year. They just extended Aiden Hutchinson as well, giving him a long-term deal. They can look to move Roy Lopez, a defensive tackle depth option they have. I mean, they've always kind of been in talks to go after a big edge rusher at the deadline as well. Could it be a Trey Hendrickson? They mentioned here Jalen Phillips. I do wonder if Phillips will get moved. Like I said, you guys have already seen the Dolphins-Ravens matchup. I mean, if the Dolphins get like embarrassed against Baltimore, maybe that's going to be the start of the fire sale this weekend. You know, a lot of stuff is going to go down Monday and Tuesday after this week's games because teams that think they're just a piece or two away will be calling Miami for sure. See if Chubb's available. See if Phillips is available. Heck, maybe even see if Mink is available this year. So, I mean, Jalen Phillips and Aiden Hutchinson on the edge together would be electric, I can't lie. For Green Bay, they're 5-1-1. They just had a convincing win on Sunday night against my Pittsburgh Steelers. That game really took I think the life out of me as a Steelers fan this season. It was not a fun watch whatsoever, and Tomlin's going to do nothing. I mean, this team already made their big splash this year, as maybe big of a splash as you can make, getting Micah Parsons right before the season started. They could look to add another defensive tackle if Devontae Wyatt gets hurt at one point this year. I wonder what they would do at receiver. I'd like to see Matthew Golden get involved more. Can I get one 100-yard game for Matthew Golden? They did just get back Christian Watson. They're not going to have Jaden Reed out for the year, so maybe they would look at a defensive tackle option. Sebastian Joseph Day from the Tennessee Titans, who we know are going to be sellers at the deadline since they lost Kenny Clark in that Micah Parsons deal going forward. Houston, another team that they're kind of in a tweener spot right now. Will they buy? Will they sell at the deadline? They maybe want to add another center. Hey, where did we hear that before? The Texans should have added some offensive linemen in the offseason. Whoa. Jackson Powers Johnson as a trade piece. I mean, why would the Raiders move him? I mean, the Raiders probably shouldn't have moved him off a center to guard, where Hurts, I don't know, he's not playing as well as he did maybe out of Oregon or what he did early in his career, but that would be so short-sighted to move JPJ while he's under this long contract, like his rookie contract, where he's not making a ton of money right now, and you're just going to trade any offensive lineman with potential when Ashton Genty can't get past the line of scrimmage because you have no run blocking talent on this team. Oh man, I mean, that would be such a big addition for this team. You'd have Titus Howard, you have Ariante Ursary, you'd have Jackson Powers Johnson. That's electric, but that would be shocking if the Raiders were to do that. The Indianapolis Colts. Now, they're saying add with caution. There's a move for general manager Chris Bauer to make if the Colts feel so inclined. They are depleted at cornerback, and the Colts are on the radar with Trey Hendrickson. Although Bauer typically stands pat, he has a hot team that might be on the proverbial one player away. I mean, yeah, they could look to add a corner as Xavier Howard did retire. I mean, the Javarius Ward thing was so unfortunate, him getting a concussion in practice. They could look to move Adonai Mitchell. That makes a ton of sense. If you can get a fourth, high-end fifth, I would probably take advantage of that. They could target Deonte Banks, who does have the potential. He was a first-round pick for the Giants. He has not been good this year, but hey, we've seen guys that are good on other teams that are just not good on their current teams. You throw them in a good secondary with the Indianapolis Colts with Lou Anarumo, that could be beneficial for his career as well and should not cost you a lot. We just saw Michael Carter got traded from I believe it was the Jets to the Eagles. It's going to cost you a 6th or a 7th swap at that point. Jaguars 4-3. I mean, they're probably not going to win the division unless the Colts really collapse in the second half. They're most likely subtracting or standing pat. They've used a ton of draft picks to move up for Travis Hunter, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Could they move Travis Etienne? I mean, they already moved Tank Bigsby this year. They could look to move Jerry Jones. They traded Tyson Campbell for Greg Newsome. I don't think they're going to trade away Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, that was floated around unless they got a first. I don't know. You would really have to blow them away, and I don't think it would make a lot of sense. Chigakonkwo could make some sense as well if you want to have another option out there. With Brendan Strange on injured reserve, yeah, this is an in-division trade, but I'm sure if you threw anything of value for Chigakonkwo, the Titans should probably look to make that move. For the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, this is another team that can compete for a Super Bowl this year, and they did lose Omar Norman Mott for a torn ACL this year. This is a team that could definitely upgrade their defensive line. They could look to move Christian Fulton, and they signed him to a 2-year deal to put him along Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. I think we got to see Noah Williams play a little bit more towards the end of the year. They're saying Keanu Benton. Now, I don't think the Steelers should move Benton. He's not been great this year, and you did just draft Derek Harmon. But how many more years does Cameron Hayward have for the Steelers playing at this level? I think you try to keep developing Benton, but I mean, they'll trade Benton, and he'll be a really good defensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not really too pleased with how the Steelers have operated over the last, few years in general. For the Raiders, adding, subtracting, or sitting out, they're subtracting without question. Maybe they're going to trade Max Crosby. I feel like that one would be the last hour would be really shocking. I mean, it makes so much sense to trade away Jacoby Myers, who's a free agent at the end of the year. He's already requested a trade. I mean, you want to give more touches to Jack Besh, who you just drafted, and Dante Thornton, who you just drafted, who's an athletic freak. But this is the one that I saw on Twitter that is crazy. Who could be targeted? Tua Tagovailoa as a trade target for the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Geno Smith thing is a disaster. I mean, hear me out. This is the Brock Osweiler trade on steroids. The Raiders currently have $103 million and $174 million in cap space in 26 and 27. What I would propose here is the Dolphins are sending it 2 second-rounders along with Tua for a 5th. So they're basically saying, take 2 seconds, you take the whole Tua contract, and you're getting 2 seconds for that. I mean, Jesus, man. So that helps the Dolphins out financially. I don't know. Who was it? The Browns that helped out the Texans with the Brock Osweiler trade? I mean, Geno Smith might not be on the Raiders next year. I don't know. They may cut him. They may move in a different direction. It's been a disaster this year. I don't know if they want to draft a quarterback. Maybe find the next, like, change of scenery guy going forward. I'd rather just take a flyer on, like, Spencer Rattler than do this trade for Tua, who's got, like, still talent in this league. But we could see the clear limitations. Do I want to take on his $70 million over the next 2 years in your cap hit, or that cap hit in general in 2026? Not really. Not really. I mean, you're getting 2 seconds for him. So if you didn't think that you were going to, like, use all of that in free agency, like, sure, you're kind of getting 2 seconds for free. I mean, it's not for free, though. You have Tua, who could still be a serviceable quarterback. I mean, will he be better leaving, like, Frank Smith to go to Chip Kelly in Vegas? Maybe. Oh my God, man. I don't know. Raiders fans, Dolphins fans, let me know what you guys think about that. I don't know if either team is a winner in that one. For the Chargers, they're going to most likely add. I mean, Kamani Vidal has been pretty good and is hopefully going to just be good enough until Marion Hampton comes back. They can mention Will Dissly. Makes sense with Arondé Gadsden kind of emerging as like the main tight end on this roster. They could target Ethan Posick from the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, any of their offensive linemen, because the Chargers, you can see their play kind of dip off a little bit when Alt gets hurt and Slater's out for the year. And they've had plenty of injuries so far this season. So that makes a lot of sense. For the Rams, I mean, Stafford isn't getting any younger. I'd like to see them be aggressive. We've seen them be aggressive in years past. They could look at offensive tackle depth. Colby Parkinson could be on the move. David Njoku is another high-end pass target for them if they don't think like Terrence Ferguson is ready for them down the stretch of the year. Tyler Higbee's their number one. I don't mind them adding another pass catcher. I think offensive line depth, if they can, would be huge. You're trying to see if you can win it all this year before Stafford retires. For Miami, I mean, they're going to listen maybe on Waddle and A-Chain. They're not going to move those guys. No way. Jalen Phillips, I doubt they move. Bradley Chubb makes way more sense, definitely going forward. They could look to move Matthew Judon. And they could target Trey Lance. You know what? I don't hate this. I don't hate this. As somebody that owns Trey Lance in Dynasty, I'd like to see him on a more intriguing team moving forward. Why not? Take a flyer on him. I don't know if that would save Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer's jobs. Like, say, I don't know if the Chargers would even want to move Trey Lance right now. You'd have to probably overpay for the Chargers to trade away their backup quarterback. God forbid Herbert gets hurt and Lance has been there all offseason and season long. But hey, what if they did trade for Lance and they benched Tua and Lance looked okay, like the number 3 overall pick he was supposed to be in the 2021 draft? Maybe that could save their jobs. I mean, it's a good shout that Mike McDaniel was the 49ers offensive coordinator when Lance was there. So, or when they drafted Lance. I don't know. I don't hate that idea. I like that idea more for Miami than trading 2 seconds to get off of the Tua contract. Kind of hated that idea in general. Minnesota, I mean, 3-4 right now. Carson Wentz is out for the year. They've had an injury to Andrew Van Ginkel, who was a big player for them. Jalen Naylor could end up getting traded. Makes sense with Jefferson and Addison. You got the veteran Adam Thielen on this roster. I don't hate it. I mean, they're going to mention Kirk Cousins as a trade piece. He's a little bit cheaper than he would have cost in the offseason with his cap hit. Carson Wentz is out for the year and wasn't really great for you. It was more so the defense that helped them win games when he was starting. God forbid McCarthy does not look much better. I mean, maybe Minnesota's okay not making the playoffs this year. They just want to set up McCarthy for success moving forward. I mean, if Cousins looked like semi-decent last week, I could maybe get behind this. But like, when was the last time Kirk Cousins has played a good football game? It's been around a year. That's scary to give up. They don't have to give up any asset for him, but you're going to take on that cap hit. Maybe. I see the vision. It's a cool storyline for sure. For the Patriots, I mean, this team could definitely buy, although they've kind of sold this year, right? Like, they cut Jabril Peppers before the season started. More shocking moves. Kyle Duggar gets traded. Not the same after the ankle injury he had in his career, but the Steelers needed a safety after Deshaun Elliott got hurt. Keon White goes to the 49ers. They needed an edge rusher after Bryce Huff got hurt. So they're saying Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave could make a lot of sense. I would just like to see them get another wide receiver option for Drake May. They could also look to add maybe another defensive player as well. They could look to move Anthony Jennings with Harold Landry, Clavon Chason on the team as well. And they picked up Caleb Murphy off waivers. So Shaheed probably makes the most sense. It's not going to cost you as much as Olave. The Saints may just end up extending Olave. A team right now that just benched Spencer Rattler for Tyler Shuck. I mean, Rattler struggled. I think he's more talented than Shuck. I don't know how he's going to be towards the end of the year. It sucks that Kendre Miller ended up tearing his ACL. We'll see if they move any of the receivers. They should definitely move Demario Davis. I don't think they're going to move Alvin Kamara. I think for what you'd get probably for Kamara, Like, if it's like a second, yeah, I would think about that. But if like the best you're getting is like a fifth, why do that? He's like your only franchise like superstar left that the fans love, and he's been there for so long. So I wouldn't really think about that. And they mentioned Jonathan Brooks. I mean, it's not a bad shout, right? Like, Brooks will be back quicker than Kendra Miller will be. I could see the vision there. Maybe they'd go with Chuba instead, but I don't know if we'll see an in-division trade there. For the New York Giants, I mean, 2-6, I can't see this team buy. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, you could soft buy, like you're giving up 7th round swaps for maybe another running back or another receiver or a corner or something like that. But if you were like, I don't know, if you were 3-5 even, or if you're 4-4, like you actually beat the Broncos, you were somehow able to beat the Saints, right? Which definitely could have happened. Like, there was a very good chance they were 4-4. And maybe if you had Malik Neighbors and you had Cam Scatabo, but those guys are out for the year, which is a damn shame. Jackson Dart does not have a lot of options to throw to. Like, Jawan Jennings, not a bad shout either. Like, just giving Jackson Dart somebody that could be a reliable pass catcher for this team with Wan'Dale Robinson, that just helps you going forward. Like, Lil Jordan Humphrey, fine for a receiver going forward, but like, I'd rather bump him down in the depth chart. They're probably going to look to move Evan Neal. Maybe Kayvon Thibodeau is dealt this offseason, or excuse me, this deadline. We'll see. I like Jawan Jennings, who feels like he doesn't even want to be there in San Fran anymore. And the Giants have the cap to withstand the contract they would give him. The Jets, they got to be sellers as well. I'm so happy they got their first win. Fields look good. They were able to run the ball, which has been kind of their identity this season with Brees, Isaiah Davis, Justin Fields. Will they trade Brees Hall? Like, that's one of the top guys that could end up getting moved. Yeah, they think that Brees Hall will end up getting traded this season. They already traded Michael Carter to the Philadelphia Eagles for John Mechie. Sure, another receiver option. He went to Bama. Maybe there's some potential there. They could go after Brandon Coleman from the Commanders. I mean, I wonder if the Commanders would actually be some type of sellers. Would they actually trade Quincy Williams? I feel like they got to be in a package. Will McDonald, already trading your 2024 first round pick would be, or 2023 first round pick, excuse me, would be quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. All eyes are on the Jets as one of those teams. Like, Jets, Saints, Titans as like the big sellers at the deadline. Maybe Raiders as well. Eagles, like, they just traded Michael Carter, so they were kind of like they needed another corner. They ended up getting one. Move A.J. Dillon, sure. Will Shipley, third guy. Tank Bigsby's way more talented than Dillon. What are you getting for A.J. Dillon? It's probably just like $100, maybe a nice Venmo. I mean, Trey Hendrickson to the Eagles would be a Howie Roseman type move. I mean, that is a nice fill-in for losing Josh Sweat in the offseason and adding just another monster to that defensive line with Jalen Carter and those guys going forward. I mean, yeah, that's a Howie Roseman deal if I've seen one. Wow. That'd be crazy. That would be crazy if they ended up with Trey Hendrickson. I know they've been linked to, like, not really Parsons in the past because that was never going to happen in the division, but they were linked to getting maybe Myles Garrett if he was ever realistically going to get traded. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm interested in this. As a Steelers fan, they could look to add another receiver. I still want Roman Wilson to get targeted this year, but you know that Arthur Smith loves the tight ends. It's going to be a lot of Muth. Johnny Smith gets maybe targeted way more than he should, and you have Darnell Washington, who I'd still like to see them utilize. I'm glad they went out and got Kyle Duggar, who's basically got 1 year left on the deal. They're not taking like a big cap hit there. They need to move on from Darius Slay. I'm sorry, at this point in his career, he's not serviceable as a corner. They could go after Jacoby Myers. Sure. I don't know if that's the Steelers' issue right now is receiver play. Yeah, it is these guys getting open, but I don't know if I would give up a valuable pick for Jacoby Myers. I would like to see them add another corner to this team, which could be helpful. But yeah, they benched Darius Slay on Sunday night. I mean, you got torched by the Packers. You got torched like Tucker Kraft torched you. You got torched by Jamar Chase. You got torched by the Jets in week 1. Like, the Steelers defense has been maybe out of any like offensive or defensive unit, the most disappointing unit in the NFL, given how much these guys are getting paid, which is so different from what the Steelers have kind of been in the past. We have the Niners, who are still 5-3. They're still churning, and they could make the playoffs this year. They should hopefully getting healthier, but I don't know. Bryce Huff recently got hurt. You know, Warner's out for the year. Purdy's going to be back eventually. Nick Bosa's out for the year. They land Keon White, which is a position of need. It makes a lot of sense to move Jawan Jennings. You'd like to see Ayuk out there first, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. You hope to get Ricky Pearsall back healthy. You just got George Kittle back healthy. I mean, landing Quincy Williams would be a huge addition for this team going forward. He obviously has the connection with Robert Saleh. You lost Fred Warner for the year. You know that Dre Greenlaw, like, you lost him in the offseason. That would be a big boost for them if they could pull that off financially. And they just need kind of Michael Williams to be better as well. Seattle, I'd like to see them be a buyer at the deadline, like 5-2. They're getting top 10 quarterback play out of Sam Darnold. Jackson Smith-Njigba is right up there with Jonathan Taylor for Offensive Player of the Year. They could look to move Rick Woolen this year at the deadline. I would love them go after Joel Bitonio, have him and Gray Zabel as your interior offensive lineman for Sam Darnold going forward. I mean, I don't know if it's going to improve the run game. I know fantasy owners of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are having a weird time this year trying to figure out who is like the lead guy on that team. But go out and get Joel Bitonio. I like that addition for that front office. For the Bucs, another team that has had so many injuries this year. The rookies are playing well, and it's kind of saving this season, as well as Baker Mayfield playing at the top of his game. I think it makes a lot of sense for you to go out and get Mark Andrews with Mike Evans out for the year. I think that makes a ton of sense as well. They've gotten good cornerback play out of Jacob Parrish. They could look to move Jamel Dean, they mentioned as well. Jordan Brooks would probably be a good add if Miami's willing to sell him this year. He's still a serviceable linebacker in this league. Not the guy I thought they would target, but Mark Andrews is the fun link going forward. Tennessee, yeah, they're going to trade maybe anybody. Arden Key, Draymond Jones, Shahad Ward. Probably not going to move Jeffrey Simmons going forward. Obviously not going to move Cam Ward at any point. They could target Tyreek Hill. This would be a cured cap space for draft capital deal, as Hill would not actually play a snap for Tennessee, okay? But we need to see the washed up, I don't think Hill's washed up yet, but like the Julio Jones of the world, the Robert Woods, the DeAndre Hopkins, those washed up receivers for the Tennessee Titans. They would take on Hill's contract for 2025 and acquire some draft capital going forward. Then they would eventually cut him in the 2026 offseason. Sure, that makes sense. I think you're looking at the bigger picture. You want to have as much flexibility as the next head coach coming in next year, since they fired Brian Callahan. For Washington, probably going to stand pat. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's a point in selling. You hope that Daniels can stay healthy throughout the rest of the year. This team has been banged up so much this year with like Debo and Terry McLaurin. They could target Logan Wilson just to try to give Bobby Wagner some help in the passing game. Yeah, I mean, you're asking so much out of Bobby Wagner this late into his career. So we had some wild trade offers or like ideas, including basically the Raiders taking on Tua's contract. We had a reunion of Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. Could Trey Hendrickson end up as a Philadelphia Eagle? I hope we get like one major move this year at the deadline. If you guys did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen here at the 2025 deadline. Like, do you think we're going to see a big name? Maybe let me know the biggest name you think is realistically going to get traded this year. We're not seeing AJ Brown get traded, but could we see Chris Olave? Maybe there's a chance. We'll see. Thank you all for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.